Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're listening from in the world. My name is Jacqueline Dixon, and you're tuned in to the Ordinary People Show. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And we're broadcasting live from Toronto, Canada, powered by GBKM TV network. We're in studio this morning experiencing but another lockdown in the GTA. But it's not just encompassing the GTA, it's also encompassing all of our surrounding areas as well. The second wave is in its is in a raging storm right now. But hold tight, everybody. The vaccine is on its way and help is on its way. This too shall pass. Just keep doing the right things. Keep your social distancing. Wear your mask when possible. And please don't leave your home unless it's absolutely necessary. Everyone at the GBKM studio and our staff wish you the absolute best holiday season you can possibly have under the circumstances. So, without any further ado, we're going to get started because you know what? I'm excited. I'm excited today. I'm always excited whenever I do the Ordinary People Show, of course, but I'm super excited today for the main reason it is my last show of the season. And yay! It's my last show for 2020. We knock on wood. We give the good Lord all the thanks and all the honor for keeping us well and healthy enough to even be here today to experience this. So I want to go out of this last show for the season with a big bang. And of course, I think I put together the absolute best panel guests that I could find in order to discuss the hot button topic. For those of you who follow me on social media, you'll know it's called Defund the Police. And man, are we going to get into it today. But we're going to have a frank and friendly discussion with intelligent people that are well-versed on the topic. So get your pen and paper out if you want to jot down some information. Maybe you don't know enough about Defund the Police, or maybe you're just hearing about it for the first time. I guarantee you when we wrap up this show today, you will be amazed with the wealth of knowledge and information that you're going to leave today's show with. Before we start the show, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I want to again start with my pleasantries, as I always do. I want to thank our sponsor, our main sponsor, for giving us the opportunity to be on air today, and that would be New Era Communications. New Era Communications is a professional sales training platform dedicated to training up-and-coming entrepreneurs and sales professionals on the sales process. Are you looking to generate more revenue for your business on a consistent basis? Then contact neweracommunications.ca to find out about the many various different programs that they offer to small business people just like you. Also, New Era Communications is the company that produces the Meet the Motivators Symposium each and every year. This is the speaker symposium that celebrates women in leadership. Look out for MTM 2K21 coming soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank our producer, of course. I got to give my producer a big shout out before I finish this year, Mr. Kenny Baz, who's always behind the scenes doing everything.
You finally remember me today.
I'm giving my producer a big shout out, okay? Because he's the guy, I'm telling you, guys, he's the guy that he's the glue that holds GBGM together for real. No word of a lie there. And hats off to him once again for pulling off another successful year of growth for all of our GBCAM staff members, listeners, and viewers. And for those of you who are listening and viewing, please make sure if you're visiting us on our Facebook page, thank you very much for visiting us, but please also do travel over to our brand new website, which is our brand new home now. That's where we would like you to view all of our live programs that occur throughout the course of the week. Plus, don't forget, GBKM is a 24-hour web radio playing the best in R&B, soca, Afro beats, gospel, and so much more. So visit us at www.gbkmtv, download our new app, and watch our brand new television platform, which operates 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take our first commercial break because I'm ready to get started. I want to introduce my panel guests to you right after we come back after this very short break. And let's get started talking about what are we going to talk about? Defunding the police. It's got me thinking already. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back after the break.
Do you believe you could host an entertaining, engaging, and thoughtful weekly show? Or are you a business person or entrepreneur interested in building a brand for yourself? Can you connect with an audience and have strong social media skills? If so, the GBCAM Network would love to invite you to join our team. We're looking for driven, genuine folks who are willing to work hard as an independent broadcaster. If this sounds like you, come join our team. For more information, email your resume to career@gbkm.fm. That is career, CAREER, at gbkm.fm. It's time to turn your passion into a career.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Ordinary People Show. I'm your host, Jacqueline Dixon, and today is the last show for the 2020 season on the ODP show, and we are kicking it off with the hot button topic, Defund the Police. Let me introduce my panel guests to you so that you can get an appreciation for the type of information that you're going to be receiving today. To my left, which is probably to your right for those viewers who are watching us on television, is my go-to guest, who is a friend to GBKM, and he's visited us on many occasions in the past, and it's none other than DJ Jeff. And we are socially distanced regardless of what it looks like. I have not come into contact with DJ Jeff since being in studio. We are talking from afar. It's all a visual effect, okay? But nonetheless, DJ Jeff is here, and he's my go-to panel guest, and that's because DJ Jeff, I'll tell you, he keeps himself informed on all of the conversations that matter. Anything from politics to defunding the police, religion, and everything in between. DJ Jeff can be counted on for some reliable, factual, and passionate conversation. So next, my next panel guest is none other than Stacey Ann Williams. Stacey Ann Williams has, oh my goodness, her resume or bio goes on and on and on. But I'm going to let her take the opportunity to introduce herself in more depth. I will say this much. She's somebody to be proud of in the community. She's somebody that we should all encourage to keep doing the right things, because she's out there. She's fighting the good fight, trying to get the word out and being an advocate for the youth. She also believes that she's just an ordinary person, and that's probably why she's on the show. But she's extremely passionate about things such as disability, criminology, family, and the elderly, and also any race-related matters. Her interest is in social justice and post-colonial issues, and we are going to have her elaborate a little bit more on that when she comes up. Good morning, Stacey, or good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Good afternoon.
Thank you, thank you. Our next panel guest is none other than, this guy I had the great honor of hosting in a discussion a few months back, and it was in regards to systemic racism in policing. Or in corrections. And I admire him so much, not just because of the information and the content that he shared during that discussion, but the fact that he was willing to speak truth to power, considering that this gentleman is an active duty police officer with the Toronto Police, and he's been serving the Toronto community for over 32 years. Another individual that we as a community should admire and support in any way we can, because he's been giving back to us for over 32 years. And his name is Mr. Dwayne Simon. Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Good afternoon, Jacqueline. It's my pleasure to be here on your show. It's an honor and pleasure to be here, and I look forward to having a nice conversation with everyone in regards to this topic. Interesting topic.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, ding, 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 round one. We're getting ready to get started. We're getting started, right? We're not wasting any time here, okay? So,
Okay.
and Stacy, we're gonna, you're gonna talk, please share with the listeners and viewers. There's so much more about what you do and what you've done with your life as far as education is concerned. You're very deep, and so is Dwayne. But the topic of discussion today, ladies and gentlemen, is called Defund the Police. Okay? 3 words. Those 3 words have caused an uproar right across North America. It's gotten all the way to the White House. That's how startling and how nerve-wracking and emotionally charged that phrase, defund the police, really is. Whether you are for, against, or you are you have no position, it is still an emotional topic. But the first thing I thought to myself is, defund the police, I don't know where it came from, right? I'm not sure where it came from. So I went to Wikipedia to see what does Wikipedia have to say about this term, defund the police. Here's what they have to say. Defund the police is simply a slogan. It's a slogan that supports divesting funds from police departments and reallocating them to non-policing forms of public safety and community support, such as social services, youth services, housing, education, healthcare, and other community resources. Activists who use the phrase may do so with varying intentions. Some seek modest reductions, while others argue for full divestment as a step towards the abolition of contemporary police services. Wow.
Where do we start?
Now, where do we start? I know Jeff is chomping off at the bits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick, we're going to take a quick go around. We're going to take a quick go around, and we're just going to ask very, very quickly, what is your position on this? Without elaborating at this stage, what is your position on defund the police as I've just read it? Okay, as I've just read it. Let's start with you, Stacy. Go ahead.
I believe that the police should be defunded. I don't believe in the abolition of police officers. Crime is real, but I believe that funds should be allocated to other areas such as housing and education and transit, amongst a number of other things that can go towards prevention instead of waiting to put all this money towards cure.
Okay. So you're comfortable with the term defund the police then, in other words?
Yes.
You're comfortable, okay? And Dwayne, Officer Dwayne, tell us, defund the police. I can't imagine what you would say. Go ahead.
Well, my position on that is, like, the term itself, defund the police, a lot of people might interpret that as to abolish police altogether. And the truth of the matter is, we need police officers in our community. We need good police officers to serve all of our communities. So it's important that we understand what we're talking about when we say defund the police, because it's not about getting rid of the police. So my position in that respect is, I don't like the term defund the police. I think we could reallocate some resources or some funds from the police to other social agencies that police tend to, like, certain calls the police might attend, like, for instance, noise complaints or mental health issues, etc. I think that may be better handled by other agencies, but the core of policing should still be left to officers to do their job. I don't think that we should completely defund. I think we should reallocate maybe some funds to other social agencies, but we should never, I think it's a dangerous precedent we're setting when we start talking about defund the police, because we do have radicals out there that would want not just reallocation, but total abolishment or total different type of policing. And especially in our community, I think we need, we have issues within our own community, and we do need the police, good police officers that we can trust and believe in. You know.
Okay, thank you very much. And DJ Jeff, defund the police. What do you feel about that? Are you good with that term?
Defund the police is the dumbest slogan I've ever heard for any campaign. It's
Tell us what you really think, Jeff.
It's the dumbest slogan. Listen, anytime you decide to create a slogan for any effort, it has to be a slogan that you can proffer without having to defend it at every turn. And defund the police is one of those slogans that you always have to defend and explain. And once you are defending your position, you're losing. And defund the police has become a political maelstrom around the necks of especially liberal politicians. It has been estimated that the reason why in the United States House of Representatives and the Senate they lost so many seats is because the people who are against that term used it to scare the living daylights out of the constituents of the Democrats, and they lost almost all their seats in the House, and they barely picked up one seat in the Senate when they were supposed to pick up 27 seats. Defund the police is a nonsensical slogan. Reform the police would have been a better slogan to use because you don't have to explain it. It's self-explanatory. But defund the police, it's stupid, it's asinine, it's dumb, it's backwards. It's the worst slogan I've ever heard for any campaign ever.
So now that we've cleared the air there, okay, and here I come now. Now I'm the host, and I'm going to play devil's advocate because sometimes they're going to be on this side and sometimes going to be on that side. So you're not in here, you're not on your own, okay, Stacey? I'm going to back you up where I can. Now, as far as when we speak to the term defund the police, absolutely hands down, I am not comfortable with that term. I want to see it nowhere. I want to see it on no written document ever that my name could ever possibly be on. Okay? That's how far away from that term I want to be. However, do we need police reform? Absolutely, we do need police reform, and we've got statistical data to back that up. The defund the police is a kind of that is a product of Black Lives Matter. Okay? So it's a product of the Black Lives Matter movement that took a hold of North America this year, and primarily in the United States. So that kind of got birthed from that, and it took its own legs. It has its own legs. I will say this much in Jeff's defense. I absolutely 100% agree with him that it was a noose around the neck of liberals as well as the Democrats within the United States. And I do believe that message, that term single-handedly cost them, almost cost them the House of Representatives, and has left them on life support with the Senate.
Yeah.
And here's why. Here's why. I believe, in my opinion, okay, people are still very simple in their nature. We're very simple-minded people regardless of how much education and schooling and experience and work-life experience and all that. We're still quite simple in the way that we comprehend things. When you come with the term defund the police, immediately the first thing that comes to mind for most people, I would say, is that we're getting rid of the police. Would everybody agree?
Yes.
Would that not
I
be?
agree.
Yes.
Now, how can that be a winning argument for anybody? Stacey, Please help me. How do you win one person over to your side when you open up the conversation with,
Defund the
I'm
police.
a supporter of defund the police? Explain that to me, please.
Well, we would open up by saying how much money that is going towards allocated towards policing and how much should be reallocated for things, and would have to present the evidence of what this allocation could be used for and how it can improve the community.
Okay, all right.
So the budget just went up for policing November 2026, was it? Last month, police budget, the millions of dollars put towards policing for surveillance and to protect the community. It can be put towards the community to help to improve the community. And just as the officer said, there's a lot of duties that the officers are being given for mental health, and there's a list of them that shouldn't be the duties of police officers. They should be there to fight crime and not to be policing charities or mental health issues and being called for drug addictions. There should be people put in place for these people to help them.
Okay. And Dwayne, this conversation, my next question, and it's open to everybody, but I'm going to specifically speak to Dwayne in the sense. Stacy hit a really big note just a while ago when she talked about the budget for policing. And statistically, here's the facts that a lot of us do not know, and I was shocked when I saw these numbers. In 2017 and 2018, the operating expenditures for policing reached $15.1 billion between 2000 and 2018. The amount expended on police services has increased by over 37% in 2020. The RCMP have been allocated a roughly $3.5 billion budget. In Vancouver, the police budget has grown by over $100 million in the last decade and represents about 1/5 of the city's $1.6 billion in operating budget. The city operates on $1.6 billion and the police eat up 1/5 of that budget. Okay? And bringing it closer to home here, for example, in Toronto, since 2013, the police budget has increased by 19.4%. It is over $1.1 billion, just Toronto Police alone, while the city's investment in social services have only increased by 13%. So, wow.
Do anyone take that?
Well, what I'd say to that, and this is just my opinion, it doesn't reflect the opinions of anybody else on the Toronto Police Service. This is just my own personal opinion and my lived experience, how I see things. But I know that a big part of the police budget is salaries. A huge part of the budget is salaries. Very small portion goes to its operating expenses, et cetera. So I think what we can look at is the salary aspect. Yes, we do get paid very well as a service, as police officers, and we do quite a bit as police officers. But what I think needs, how to maybe reduce maybe some of that budget is to look at, I personally feel that there are areas within policing where we have too many chiefs and not enough Indians, right? We can maybe cut back on some of, do we need as many inspectors or superintendents or, the core people on the ground, the primary response units, the police officers on the streets, the investigative units, that's where the money should be. So we could cut back a bit on some of the salary aspect of things, not cut back on the salaries per se, but maybe reallocate or not reallocate, but we have to take a look at how, how we're spending our money, and, do we need 2 inspectors at a police station? Do we need a superintendent, a staff superintendent? Because this amps it up. This all costs money. So we need to maybe streamline that better so that the budget is not ballooning, and more resources or more of the funds could go towards other social agencies. But we definitely, we can't really afford to cut the police budget or cut police services, because it's going to hurt us all. And I'm concerned about what would happen to our community. I'm talking about our Black community, because we need the police the most.
Wow. That's a big statement. But I know you want to jump in there, but I'm going to tell you something. I think, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm saying, why are these numbers so, this is crazy, crazy high. So the salaries, and this is the difference between the United States and Canada. The United States police do not get paid well. They do not. I mean, in relative terms, they do not get paid well relative to the police officers here, and they face a lot more dangerous situations, in my opinion, than they do here in Canada. And these police officers are obviously getting paid a whole lot of money, because I'm not so sure about how many programs the police services are offering to the general public under that budget. Within that budget, how many programs are they actually creating, supporting, implementing that would directly affect in a positive way the general populace? If the majority of that money is salaries, then we have a problem here.
Oh, we do have a problem. And I think one of the issues I have with Defund the Police, and I want to stay on this particular topic of Defund the Police. People have a fundamental misunderstanding of the importance of police. Mm-hmm. And because over the years, the relationship between civilians and the police, especially in Black communities, have deteriorated to the point where now mostly Black activists are calling to defund the police, is that misunderstanding. Now, we cannot exist as a community without the police. The Black community will not exist as a
Why?
A civil
Why?
as a civil community without the police. I'll
Why?
tell you why. People, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading the Bible, and I think it's Leviticus 8:22. It says, because the hearts of men are so deceitful to do evil. They said because consequences are not meted out immediately. The hearts of men are deceitful to do evil. And there are lots of evil people. And the only thing that keeps some of us from committing crimes is the consequences that we are likely to face. Without the police in the Black community, I'm not saying the method the police use right now in the Black community, but without police especially in the Black community, we are going to have a problem. And listen.
Listen.
That's what I want to say. Before you guys take over. We cannot exist as a civil society without the police.
We don't know how to behave as a civil society.
No,
we don't know how to behave as a civil society.
That's not what I'm saying.
But that's what you just
said.
said.
There are bad elements, and we know that the likelihood of evil overtaking good exponentially increases if there's not somebody there to keep a lid on bad.
And it would increase disproportionately more in the Black community, more so than the Caucasian community?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. Because there's more poverty in the Black community. Poverty presents itself as a method of increasing criminality, shoplifting, the minor crimes, pickpockets, simple robberies. Those things exponentially exceed anywhere else in the Black community. And without the police, I'm telling you, the Black community will be a hellhole. But what we need to do is reform the police. Defunding the police is a stupid endeavor, reform the police. The same thing you talk about the budget and how much is spent on police and whatever. We can achieve those same things in a political realm without the stupid slogan of defunding the police. The police needs reform. There's no doubt about
Well,
that.
you know what? I'm going to come at a different
Let me-
angle here, and I'm going to urge, Dwayne
I'll
and,
jump in.
and Stacy, y'all got to jump in when ready, okay? Because I'm telling you, I'm going to come at this from a different angle, and I'm going to say I will back you on one thing. Where there is poverty, there is crime. So if you want to reduce crime, reduce poverty. But if you can't get an opportunity to sit at the table so that you could get a chance to earn wealth or to build wealth, build generational wealth, what are your options? What are your options when every door keeps getting shut on you strictly because of the color of your skin? So how am I going to get myself and my family out of poverty if I can't be given an opportunity to gain wealth for myself? How is that going to work?
How many politicians have Black Lives Matter elected?
I'm not.
Then you guys,
you know
Dwayne
what?
and Stacey,
You want me to
gonna-
answer the question, or should we get into Black Lives Matter?
No,
That's a
we're not
whole
going to go
different-
there just yet. We're not going to go there just yet. But here's the thing, because they're all valid points. But here's the thing here now, because as Jeff says, that he does not believe that the black community can govern themselves. He doesn't believe that.
That's not what I said.
Well, but that's pretty
That's
well
not
what
what I
you
said.
said.
No.
You said we can't govern ourselves, and without police, it would be even worse in our community because we don't know how to live in a civil society with each other.
No, you put it
That's
right
what you
about.
said.
I will let Stacey
That's
Dwayne
what
go.
you
That's
said.
not what I said.
Okay, Stacy, go
That's
ahead.
not what I said.
Let me
We need
jump
to
in.
stop policing poverty and reinvest funding into social housing and free transit and food security. Places that have a high level of poverty, yes, you have a higher level of crime. But if we invest in those communities, we would lessen the crime in those communities.
Yep.
What do we have? Go ahead.
I would say, Stacy is partly correct. I do somewhat agree with her on that. We do need to invest more in those communities. And Jeff, your comments about the black community would be decimated without the police. I disagree. Personally myself, I grew up in poverty. I grew up in Jane and Finch. When I joined the service, I actually was living in housing with my mother, my divorced mother, and my sister. And I was on Driftwood, one of the toughest neighborhoods in Canada. Okay, and I made it through that. And the neighborhood itself was one of the best neighborhoods for me, living in Jane and Finch, because there were always kids around that you could, play ball, soccer game or basketball. But the problem with living in areas like that is that you do have bad elements within the community. You have some bad elements, and that's because of poverty, because of a whole bunch of socio-economic other issues that exist, that Black folks are always being discriminated against, that they don't have the opportunities, like Jacqueline said. So, and these kids that are not brought up properly, they may choose easy money and decide to maybe sell drugs and whatnot. And because of that, and some of them, live in housing. And when they live there, they sell in the same neighborhoods that they're living. And it's a recipe for disaster when you have an area like, say, Jane and Finch or Regent Park, where you build ghettos. I think we need to get away from building ghettos, okay? Because the youth out there need to have mentors. They need to have to live in a neighborhood where they feel there's hope. And if they don't see any hope, some of them may turn to crime. And unfortunately, in these neighborhoods, you will have the elements that hide out. There will be lots more shootings in these particular neighborhoods. And we need the police to come into these areas to flush out these bad elements. But we need good police officers that work with the community, that know the youth in the area. Okay, not coming there to target, to profile. We need good police officers that the youth can trust. Okay, that if they see something, they feel protected if they speak to the police. And the problem right now is that sometimes they may witness something, but they don't feel protected by the system because the system does not protect the whistleblower. So we need to work on all of these issues so that people will feel more comfortable in their neighborhoods. And if they do see something, they'll feel comfortable in calling the police, knowing that the police will respond in a timely manner and take effective action, and something will get done. So I do feel that in neighborhoods like that, the majority of people in neighborhoods can thrive, but we need help from social agencies and also from the police to come in and assist.
Dwayne, I am meeting you for the first time today, but you and I are coming from almost the same paths. I was a police officer. I grew up in the ghetto in my country. And I became a police officer because I saw the advantages that police took of the people in my community. And I became a police officer because I wanted to change the way police dealt with my community. I can remember as a child waking up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with the police kicking in your door, and you wake up and there are guns at your head, and they're searching for guns even though you are not involved in anything criminal. So I became a police officer. I worked my way up to sergeant. I wanted to be the commissioner of police. In any case, I digress. The thing I'm saying about policing in the black community and why I don't think the black community would be safe without the police is for those very reasons. We are more likely as a community to be poor. Poverty breeds crime. People have to support themselves and their family. And when they can't earn a living by fair means, they earn it by foul means. And the only thing to keep a lid on more people choosing that path is law enforcement. I am not saying that the police has to come into the communities and crack heads and arrest innocent people and whatever, but we need the police. And I'm saying again, I want to come back to this defund the police crap. We need reform, yes. We need to take money that's allocated for all kinds of things in the police force. Take, for instance, a suit of a Toronto police officer's, one of those suits you see the police officer wears is more expensive than my Armani suit. And I do not, this is not hyperbole. A Toronto police officer's uniform is more expensive than an Armani suit.
No, I disagree. We have probably one of the worst quality uniforms.
I am not talking about the quality of the uniform. I'm talking about the cost to make the uniform. Do you know that your uniform,
what does that have to do with defunding the police? I'm trying to understand.
You cannot, listen, that's where we have to take the money from. But I'm saying, again, you cannot, the term defund the police. I am saying reform the police. Yes, you need to take the monies that are expended on the police and put it somewhere else.
All right.
But the term defund the police.
You agree?
Okay.
I just want to say
you
one
agree
thing.
that the fund should be allocated somewhere else?
Yes.
But you don't believe in the term?
I don't believe in the term.
We're going to get, Stacey, we're going to get to that just right. But, okay, Dwayne, just finish up with what you were just going to say quickly. Let me pick up.
No, I'm just going to just elaborate a little bit more what Jeff is trying to say. But I think that what he's trying to say is that, when we use the term defund the police, and what that registers some police officers, especially in some neighborhoods, if they don't want the police in there, the police are not going to come in, right? Or they'll be the last to come in. And we need the police in certain neighborhoods. Like when there's shootings and whatnot, we say, where's the police, right? We need police officers on foot in communities, talking to the youth in these communities. And my concern is that we're going to hurt ourselves by talking about defunding the police.
Exactly.
Because if we talk about the fund, what's going to happen is we get paid quite well. And we'll do this. We'll say, well, you don't want us in your neighborhoods? We're not coming in.
Right.
But who's getting hurt? We're going to hang out in the other neighborhoods where we'll come in after the fact. And you see that all the time. So, but we need police in our neighborhoods, good police officers, talking, working with the community, because community and the police need to work together. Okay. And we can't, that's an important piece of policing, community-based policing.
Yep.
Okay, so Stacey, your argument, Stacey's she's standing her ground, okay, and she's standing her ground, I think, mainly because she's got some sort of lived experience or evidence to back what she feels is the right way to go, which is to defund the police and reallocate all these funds elsewhere. So my question to you, Stacey, is this, and I'm moving away from a topic that I really want to get. My question is this: what proof do you have that by investing more money in social services and more after-school programs and more basketball camps and all of that, what proof do we have that any of that is going to make a dent in any way, shape, or form to the outcome that we currently see happening with our youth? Because the trajectory right now for the youth is really poor, especially the males, black male. The likelihood of them being incarcerated is more than 5 times likely than a Caucasian male. What proof do you have that spending any more money on these guys is going to help?
Well, for one, like the police officer here, when I came to Canada, I lived in Jane and Finch myself. So I'm from that community, and I know several other people from that community that have careers and have been in programs would help them to further their career, to help other people on the ground. And working with offenders for 8 years, I've worked in the community for over 20, but 8 years directly with offenders, I've noticed that the people who have gotten further ahead were the ones that were able to access funds in order to help them to succeed.
Yeah.
So I believe that the funding is a large part of being successful, economic conditions.
Can you give us an example? Can you give us some lived examples of what you saw funding directly do for some of the youth or the programs that you've been involved with?
Well, you're more likely to succeed if you've got the funding that's coming from your family and direct programs. So what I'm saying is, working in the transitional housing, which I did, the people were more likely to fall back into crime were those who didn't get the help from the system. And some have to rely on the system and feel comfortable with the system to move away from these groups that continuously commit crime. So I'm with both of the other panelists.
Yeah.
One, you need the police officers to come in, but they need to feel safe. And with I can't remember his name. He's in the studio right now.
Jeff.
Crime is higher in the community when there's poverty. So you need money in that community for programs for these people to succeed.
Okay, so
while I might have grown up in a poor community, I also had my mother and my father,
Right.
which I have my parents who work, which helps for me to succeed. But if you're coming from a single parent home or different things have happened in your family, you're less likely to succeed, or you're more likely to get drawn into those groups where there's gangs and a lot of different things going on in the community.
let's
You're
talk.
less likely
Let's just talk very quickly about the ghetto, or if you want to use the term ghetto. I mean, they weren't called ghetto
like that.
when I was growing up. It wasn't called the ghetto. They were just called housing. They were housing
Projects.
right? The projects, right? They weren't really known as the ghetto. And there's been a lot of quality people that have come out of AKA the ghetto. And Jane and Finch is one of the most famous places for producing quality citizens, contributors to the black community. There has been some great people that have come out of Jane and Finch. So and some of them, many of them came from single parent households. So I really wonder if that is really what the missing ingredient is, or is it just something maybe moving more on the lines of, okay, here's where I'm going. When I was growing up, Stacy, and I think we probably grew up in the same era. When I was growing up, a lot of us had single parents, or our fathers, or would come and go, kind of thing, right? But the children were involved in less violent crime then than they are now. And the young people that I see now that are involved with a lot of violent crime are the children of those people, right? So I'm wondering, who's failing who here? Is it the system that's failing, or is it the parenting that's failing? Because if a generation before them, immigrant parents could successfully raise children in single parent households, why, since having the advantage of being in Canada for all of these years, can you not raise a Canadian child in a better situation? Do you follow what I'm saying here?
Jacqueline, I want to go back to something that you said earlier, in that Defund the Police grew out of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter grew out of police brutality. And I think we are concentrating our efforts on the wrong force. Now, the police needs to be reformed. There's no doubt about that. But let me tell you where we are missing the boat. The prosecutors, the crown prosecutors, and in America, the district attorneys, that's where we have to start. The police cannot come to your community, beat your child, then charge your child for assaulting them, put them before the court to put them in prison, without the direct involvement of the crown and district attorneys. So this whole defund the police nonsense is focusing its attention the wrong place. We need to start at the Attorney General's office, because without those crown attorneys taking the bogus evidence from the police on the street, the police will have to change. And the only way to change that kind of policing in our community is to target the politicians. And it starts at the Attorney General's office, because the crown prosecutors cannot prosecute your son for a bogus charge if the police make up, if the crown prosecutors doesn't take it. And we have to divert our anger to the right place. Yes, the police needs reform.
Yeah.
But there are lots of reformation that's needed.
Well, we're talking about, Dwayne, now I'm coming back to you here now, because here's the facts of the matter, okay? The facts of the matter is the cry for defunding the police, started, escalated, and went to its boiling point with the death of George Floyd. And that's where it started to become so clearly evident that interactions with police and people of color will most likely end in a situation that involves a shooting, a serious injury, or death, more often than with Caucasian. And I believe that since having my interview with the head of the Ontario Human Rights, which I did a few weeks back, that has proven itself to be correct here in Canada as well. Those statistics follow through here in Canada. Why is it, Dwayne, that you guys can't seem to interact with a black person committing a crime and it end on a positive note, where there's no death, there's no violence, interaction where an individual would lose their eye, or a shooting? Why can't that seem to happen?
I think, first of all, you have to be careful not to stereotype all police officers.
Okay.
Because what happened in the States, George Floyd, and even some incidents that took place in Toronto and other municipalities within Canada, we're going to always have officers out there that break the law, that go above and beyond or what they should be doing. As far as, we have racist officers out there. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay, racism exists. People bring their own biases and prejudices to the job. But you know what? We have to have a system in place that's going to deal with these officers that go rogue. I'm not going to comment on any particular case, but the justice system, we need to, we cannot, our unions are pretty powerful, right? And we protect officers, our association, right? But there comes a point where the association has to realize that if they're defending an officer that has done something blatantly wrong, that it doesn't bode well with them. It's going to make us look bad. Us all look bad. We have to call out bad officers. I called out Derek Chauvin. I went on 1010. I talked about that. That was the worst thing I've seen in policing in my entire career. That should never have happened. But I know that that's just the tip of the iceberg. We as Black folks have had a knee on our neck for years. Okay, that just highlighted it. Although we may not have been killed, the justice system still kills us because we don't get justice. Okay, in many cases we don't get justice. But I think that the majority of police officers do an outstanding job, and the police service is changing from when I started. It's modernizing quite a bit. We're doing things differently. They're bringing body cameras. They're holding officers more accountable now, and we're now speaking out against other officers. So when we see something, we say something. We're no longer silent. We're going to talk out when we see an officer acting inappropriately, because I don't want to be the guy that's working with a guy like Derek Chauvin that's doing something. If I saw that, I would have intervened and stopped it. Okay, because I'm going to wear it. I'm not going to cover for him. And officers are slowly changing. The system is slowly changing. We have to give it time to work, because we're not going to eradicate racism within the police service, but we can control it. And when it does raise its ugly head, we can deal with those officers appropriately. And hopefully the justice system works. Like I'm talking about the SIU, the OIPRD. All of these units need reform as far as I'm concerned. That's where we need to start. Well, let's look at these units that don't properly investigate police. Okay, that's where the reform needs to start.
Yep.
That's very good. I applaud that. That was a great answer. I like that a lot. So, Dwayne, here's some. Let me follow up with this. So, up until recently, we had a Black police chief. We were so proud as a community. Yay, the police chief is Black. Yay! And then we woke up the next day and realized it don't mean nothing. What did that do for any of us? Not that, because I like him a lot, okay, and I respect him a lot, and I got pictures with him. Me and him are cool. But listen, the whole thing is this: what was the trickle down? Did anything trickle down in our favor by having a Black police chief? It seemed to me like the poor guy took on the weight of the world. And it almost seemed like he was being stifled at certain points. Can you speak to that? Being a police officer, did you feel a sense of pride when the police chief came on?
I did. I did. I think it was great to see a Black police chief in Canada. That was a good thing to see. But I know that his hands were tied in decision making. I personally feel that there was too much oversight on him. Like, the police service board, the mayor, everybody's calling the shots, and he was not able to do what he really wanted to do. So it's almost like when you had, President Obama, when he got in there. It was great having a Black president, but what did he really change? There's only so much you can do when the Senate's controlled by the Republicans, and he's limited. So I think the chief, he's a brilliant man. He's a very smart man. I totally respect him. He earned the rank of police chief, not because of his color, but because of his qualification. But I think that he was limited in what he could do because it was just too political for him to operate effectively. And we have to let a police chief run the police service, not the mayor of the city or outside influences.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, we got time for one more question before we wrap up today's show. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. When we come back, I want you to all think now. Everyone's going to give what is your personal opinion or suggestion as to how to improve the lives of black people where policing is concerned when we come back. Okay, whether it's defund them or refund them or exchange them, I don't know. But we're going to be right back after this quick commercial break, and we're going to get the final from all of my panel guests. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Do you know who you are? What is your name?
Sometimes you wonder why and wonder how. Don't be alone. Just stay calm, cause even if you choose or not to.
My child, recite the words of this ancient mythology. The wisdom I disperse in this verse, no apology. Memorized to keep you from evil theology. For you, the darker hue, you're denied your equality. See, for generations we perpetrated psychology. Divide and conquer each other, really lynch policy. You cannot build each other up, how will you build economy?
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Ordinary People Show. My name is Jacqueline Dixon. I'm having a blast in studio this Saturday, my last show before we wrap up the 2020 season. And we are going out with a big bang. It is called Defund the Police. My panel guests have been in studio. We've been offering some constructive criticism in many cases. We've been supporting a lot of arguments, and we've been shooting down some as well. And the vast majority of the information that's been shared today has been based on our personal opinions. There has been some factual information shared, and the facts were given during the course of the show. We'd like to hear from you. Give us your feedback. Send us an email. Send us a tweet, a text. Talk to us on any one of our social media platforms and tell us how you feel about this show. Do you want to have this topic back again in 2021? Do you want us to bring it back? Let us know, and we aim to please. Now, in wrapping up today's show, though, of course, we could talk about this subject forever and ever and ever. We've got a plethora of information to share from some qualified professionals. But we want to end this show on a positive. We want to come up with solutions. It's easy to come up with criticisms. I always say that to people. Life is like that. It's so easy to criticize, but how difficult it is to actually find solutions. And it takes a really big people to be able to come up with suggestions for solutions and then implement them. So we're going to come up with some solutions today for all the politicians out there listening to us, whether you're listening to us live or on the replay. Here are our suggestions for how to improve race relations between police and the black community in regards to this defund the police concept. Stacey, take it away.
Okay. I like to say, in my opinion, I believe that correction should always come from a place of love. Therefore, instead of increasing police budgets and thinking in terms of ending crime, I believe we should start thinking about ending human harm and thinking about and taking a look in terms of incarceration and meeting the needs of society. Look at incarceration as a matter of care, to care and meet the needs of individuals in society. We need to invest in families, affordable housing, clean water, affordable transit, free child care and post-secondary, drug support for people who use them, and support indigenous struggles for land back.
Wow, she's got it figured out. Thank you so much, Stacey. Thank you so much for that. And Officer Dwayne Simon, give us your suggestions for how to improve relations in this area, please.
Well, I think we need to invest in building better relationships on both sides. The police need to be able to work on having the community trust them more. Okay, we need to be more accountable, and we need to gain the trust of the community. And I think at the same time, the community needs to change their their views on policing. I mean, there's a lot of negative view on policing, and a lot of good police officers out there, right? And we have to learn to respect each other and treat each other with respect. Okay, police officers are not there to harm you. They're there to help you. That's why I joined this job, to help people. And I think the majority of police officers have that mindset. You do have ones that may go rogue, but I think that we need to work on investing in building relationships and building trust. As far as the budget or defunding goes, I believe that's complete nonsense. But there are areas within policing that can be streamlined, and I think that's being done today, where we've moved from having just police officers go to certain calls to have special constables at a lower pay that would go and collect videotapes or do break and enter reports. And that's streamlining it, and that's leaving the core of policing for police officers to go out there and respond to robberies or shootings or assault in progress. So I feel that the service itself is starting to recognize that they need to streamline, and they're starting to do that. They can do a much better job of it. That's starting, but what's most important right now, we need to invest in relationships, better, and trust each other.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
You know, I hear always that not all police officers are bad. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Having been a police officer myself, not all police officers are bad. But too many of them are. And that's the problem. The police look at the black community and see the few criminals that are in the black community, and then they label an entire community as being criminal-minded. But they don't want us to do the same thing to them. The way to change the relation between the police and the black community is to hold the Attorney General and the people that work for him accountable. Because I know people don't make this connection, but the police cannot do what they do in our community without the complicity of the Crown attorneys. The police cannot make a false charge against you and put you before the court without a Crown attorney taking that case. And unless we focus our attention on the political arm of this problem, it's never going to get solved. Because once the police can come, brutalize you, charge you, put you before the court, and the Crown attorney prosecute, they're going to continue to do it. Policing is a system. And unless we reform the system, policing is going to be the same. And the system starts at the Attorney General's office. The highest law enforcement officer in the land is the Attorney General. And unless we get the Attorney General to reform the office of the Attorney General, we are never going to get the police to respond on the ground. So the way to change policing and reform policing is not taking their budget and their money. It's getting the Attorney General to change the culture in the office of the Crown attorneys. That's how change starts, with policing.
Wow. You heard it. You heard it from my go-to guest, my go-to panel guest, DJ Jeff. And because it's my show, I get the last word. So here it goes. Defund the police, I'm not interested. Defunding the police tells me that you want to cut the budget. When you cut the budget, you cut services. When you cut services, you cut results. And that we cannot afford to have, regardless of whatever community we are coming out of. But I do believe in reallocating, without cutting, some of the funds in which we are spending within the police force. Where I would like to see a reallocation of funds go is to a mental health unit. I want to see the police create and build a healthy, strong mental health unit that can disperse officers that are skilled in the area of mental health to situations where we don't necessarily need to have armed police officers attend, but some mental health professionals that are also police officers attend, and to de-escalate situations that can sometimes occur in death or some sort of dismemberment. I would also like to see allocation for funds in the area of family counseling. It's one thing to deal with the youth that is creating the crime or that is the repeat offender, but how if we are not also working with the parent or the household and where that youth came from, then we're simply putting that youth back into a situation where they will most likely regain the bad habits that they got in the first place. Mothers and fathers need to participate in the rehabilitation programs in the same manner that the youth are being exposed to it as well. And I think we will see a long-lasting effect when we try to fix the family unit and not just the youth itself. So those are my biggest takeaways. And lastly, the salaries. If we have to get in there, much in the same way that we went into Ontario Hydro and we took a look at the books to see who was getting these really huge, who was on the sunshine roll, and take a look at where money is being spent. If it's salaries, then they need to be shaved down, or we need to compress some of these positions and collapse some of these positions into one, when we could potentially have three, where there are three people holding the same position, basically amounting to the results of one. Let's collapse it so that we can reallocate those funds in other areas. That's my take on it. I do not want to see the police defunded. If anything, I'm prepared to spend more tax dollars to make sure that the police get more money, as long as it's being used in the areas which can directly affect positive change.
I agree.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up today's show by saying to you, and I'm sure that all of my panel guests, I can speak for them in saying that we wish you the absolute best, most prosperous 2021 that the good Lord could ever bring for you. Thank you so much for supporting the Ordinary People Show and GBKM TV. Look out for my panel guests in the near future. I know that Officer Dwayne Simon, he's been on the force for 32 years. He looks like he's 35. He's going to be, he's not looking to retire to go to the Bahamas. He wants to retire and come and work with the community. And we applaud him for that. When you see him out there, support him. Stacey Ann, same thing. Support her in any of the endeavors that she's involved with, because she is a soldier and she's fighting the good fight. And me, Jacqueline Dixon, I'm here each and every Saturday trying to educate, inspire, and empower you on how to move from ordinary to extraordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, wishing you the absolute best. Once again, we'll see you in the new year. Cheers.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hello, my name is Ryan Knight, the co-founder and executive director of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network Foundation. I am here excited to announce the new microloan program that we have put together. With the support of Alterna Savings Credit Union and the partnership of SETC, Empowered Forex, and the Dream Legacy Foundation, we're going to be helping more entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage get access to funding and help with their grant writing. Please visit our website, acbncanada.com, to learn more if you're an entrepreneur that's in need of funding